Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Ravens Call. I'm your host again, Tyler Cameron. If you haven't already, don't know what the podcast is about, go to the playlist and go to my intro video explaining this podcast. This podcast will be available on Spotify, YouTube, as well as Apple Podcasts. So go check those out. You can find links to all of those within each of the streaming services or on my Instagram page at The Ravens Call Podcast. On that note, I hope everyone is having a great day. We're only a little bit ways away from the start of the season. Getting some good preseason games started, so that's good. Ready to listen to some exciting NFL and Baltimore Ravens news. All right. As you already know, if you've been listening, I talk about the NFL first. So we're going to get straight into it with some bizarre news that, it happened pretty simultaneously almost. It felt like the Jets organization knew he was going to do this. And what I'm talking about is Haason Reddick. He was traded from the Eagles to the Jets this offseason. And, he wanted to get a new contract, well deserving. He's done very well for the Eagles organization on that front. And so he believes he deserves that money, which all in all, respectively he does. And so the Jets knew going in that they were going to have to give him a new contract. So they've been working on it here and there, but nothing has just come to the correct number for both sides. And, he sat out training camp. And so, I had talked about this before, just thinking, this is one of those holdouts, he's going to get signed, but seems like him and Ren and Ayuk are kind of shopping their market pretty high, and to the point to where, Haason Reddick requested a trade, which shockingly enough is just the latest in the Jets news. You got your own stuff with Aaron Rodgers, you got the expectations of the Jets, being a Super Bowl contending team. And then you have these kind of little side, news to where the guy who just requested a trade to be on your team is now requesting a trade to be off your team because you guys couldn't give him a correct contract. And when my phone went off, I wasn't surprised by this, but I think it was within an hour or two after I got the news of his requested trade, the team made it very clear that they will not trade him and they will keep fining him unless he reports to the team. And that's something that I understand. This is like a Ben Simmons situation, except, Haason Reddick's actually worth the money and Ben Simmons is not. But to say it that fast and to make it very clear, we don't want any distractions. We're heading into the regular season. You are going to be on this team and you're going to play for this team, like it or not. It's going to really show the Jets' outcome on defense, but also really show the outcome of what happens to players when they don't get their way. And what I'm trying to bring up is sometimes players can be divas. Sometimes players can demand things that are way out of their reach. Other times they're in the right position to do these things. So it'll be interesting to see what side ends up being favored within this kind of drama. Reddick deserves to be paid. He made that very clear as to when he was requesting a trade. He wanted a new contract. So I'm going to side more on Reddick's side as of right now. I understand that, he's seen in the past what happens when you play without a guarantee of a new contract. Some people are very good at betting on themselves. Other times they crash and burn. Jamal Adams did it, had it with the Seahawks. So he's coming to a new team and he's going for a Super Bowl run. And the Jets, I don't know the Jets' dilemma, why they're not pursuing his contract that much, because you knew going in when you traded for this guy, he wanted a new contract. Give him a new contract. But you have a lot of other players that you're going to be giving contracts to here soon. Garrett Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, if he restructures his deal, Breece Hall, so many people, Sauce Gardner, so many people on the defensive side of things that they're going to need all the money they can get, but you traded for this guy to win. You can give him a 1-year contract and then work it out at the end of the season. You do not need this going into the regular season, but it's just amazing how fast the team made it very clear. We will just continue to fine you if you don't show up for this team. And it's showing that the Jets organization is very serious, because this is the closest they've ever been in a while to having a Super Bowl contending team. They were supposed to go last year, but Aaron Rodgers had his issue and really affected the team. And now it's, can they bounce back? Can they become that Super Bowl team that everyone believes they're going to be? So that is definitely something that we're going to be looking into for the next couple months as well. All right. Next up on the agenda is the Guardian caps. And what those are is they're, you wear them on your helmet. They used to do this a lot in training camps and practice to be able to somewhat hit and reduce the force from head contact. They used it a lot, but now they're implementing it into, you can wear them during games. And you may have seen that and like, why is that guy wearing a funky looking helmet? Well, it's because a lot of people are going to wear this just to reduce the effects of, brain injuries, concussions, because those are something that, we're trying to evolve in players' health and safety, because you can't really do anything hitting wise anymore. Defense it's very tough to be on defense. So I'm hoping that wearing the Guardian caps will end up helping out the defense to where they lessen the rules on how to hit a player. I understand with the dropping your whole body weight on somebody's leg, there's so many other different ways of tackling, from behind, but those little hits and like maybe helmet to helmet contact to where it's not too severe needs to be reduced, because I think that there were a lot of hits last year that they were bang bang plays. It's not like they could have prevented getting hit there. Make defense a little more fun, because it's becoming more too much of an offensive game, especially for my Ravens team. I mean, Ravens had the best defense last year, almost as good as the 2000s Ravens that won the Super Bowl. So I'd like to see more defense getting a lot more leeway with their hits if people start wearing the Guardian caps, because if it's going to reduce the head contact and reduce concussions after this season, I'd like to see those rules lessened. Very, very good idea to let the players choose. Let the players choose whether to wear them or not. Seeing who really wants to wear these for head injuries, wants to see the preventing it. But one of the big stars of it was Jonathan Taylor. They call him the most high profile player that was wearing it during the preseason, which, he is. He was one of the best running backs last season and in 2022 as well. I really think that this is a good push for the league to help prevent those concussions and brain damage, especially, for people that end up retiring, that need that that would have needed that when they had played, because it affects them later on in life, is what I'm trying to say with that. So hoping to see a good reduction in concussions, and then we can start getting back to more physical football that we used to know and love, especially on the defensive end. Well, we had some preseason, obviously. If you've followed up and seen, we had first week 1, had a lot of good performances from a lot of good quarterbacks. From a Ravens perspective, we had our first round cornerback, Nate Wiggins, did really well. Every rookie's going to have a little hiccup here and there because it's very different, but he played really well. Had 3 incompletions, so it was very nice to see that he's already gelling well. From a quarterback standpoint, Caleb Williams looked really well for the Bears. From a Broncos perspective, Bo Nix looked amazing in his first preseason and his second preseason. He looked, coming up here, I think he's going to improve on that, and he's going to be the starter for the Broncos this next up and coming season. Penix did really well. Drake May, he's doing okay. He's not making crazy plays. He's just not. He's game managing right now. He's still trying to feel out his offense, which everyone expects these guys to just ball out week 1 of preseason, and even in the week 2 of preseason. Like, these guys are still getting used to their offense, their players, their coaches. Like, this is all a new experience. This isn't like you just walk in and you're a phenom sort of scenario. So it was nice to see that a lot of good young rookie quarterbacks were starting off well. Sad news for JJ McCarthy that he's going to be out for the season. I said he wasn't going to be that good of a quarterback. Week 1 he played decently, but I would have liked to have at least seen the chance and proved me wrong with my assumption of him. Hope him the best in a speedy recovery to where he's able to really help the Vikings next season. And, if, I don't know, I don't think the Vikings are going to end up with a good record at the end of the season. So you'll be able to get either a good lineman, help the defense, or get another key player to help him in his journey. In other news, we had one trade and one free agent signing for the Falcons, which the Falcons are starting to look like a defense, a very scary defense, like the defense of when they went to the Super Bowl. Their offense is going to be suspect because obviously they're still very new. The young core didn't do well under any quarterback, so it'll be nice to see whether they do well with a very experienced and veteran quarterback that actually, knows the game a little bit better. But what I'm talking about with the Falcons is they signed Justin Simmons, safety, so they have almost arguably two of the best safeties in the NFL, being Jesse Bates and him. So that, already right there, you have AJ Terrell at corner. You have Calais Campbell from the Ravens, and now you have Matthew Judon, who you traded the Patriots for. So their defense is going to be one of the defenses to look out for. From a fantasy perspective, I would definitely consider picking them up. If you're looking for a team to root for that may go under the radar, I would say the Falcons. If Kirk Cousins can click with his offense, the defense is going to hold up very well. So very interesting to see, because that division in itself is always a roller coaster. The Bucs definitely are the team to beat for the division title. I would say the Saints are still here or there, hit or miss. Carolina's obviously Carolina, but the Falcons have a really good opportunity to push for that number 1 spot in their division and push for a playoff spot as well. So they could be dangerous going into the playoffs. Next up on our list has something to do with a team that they talk a big game, but they can never seem to back it up, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott, if you're listening to this, you're probably not, because obviously this is a Ravens podcast, but I don't mean any disrespect to you. I think you're a great quarterback. I just think that, you have a roller coaster of an organization. If you want to come to Denver, I think that'd be a good one for you too, for your last couple years. But anyway, we're going to talk about CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jones. So what I mean by this is CeeDee Lamb, obviously, is going for a contract extension. Rightfully so. He has elevated his game every single year, and he's become a top receiver, and he's made numerous plays. He helped me win my fantasy league last year, so I know and watched him very well, that he's one of those guys that really help the Dallas Cowboys look good on that offensive end. They have a couple other weapons here and there, but him and Dak are really good on that connection. So obviously CeeDee Lamb doesn't have a contract yet, which is very shocking considering, he's one of the top receivers. And so there was a comment recently by the owner, Jerry Jones, saying, that there's not really much urgency to get a contract done. He later now has commented about saying not anything to do with his contract. Like, we do have urgency. I was just kind of saying it to say it. And, it really didn't come off that well. He's trying to backtrack, but it's not going over well. And I think on the social media platform, CeeDee Lamb ended up saying, posting LOL. So way to shoot yourself in the foot, Cowboys. You don't pick up anyone. You say that you're going to have a big free agency, a big draft. You don't pick up anyone with the budget you have. And instead of using that budget to re-sign your players like Dak and Ceedee, you're just like, you know what? I'm going to keep the money. You were the first $10 billion team value, and yet you can't pay your players. Dak has led this team to the playoffs many, many times. CeeDee Lamb has become even better every single year. Your defense is a top defense with Micah Parsons and, a bunch of other key solid players. You had a very decent line. Would you want to keep the team and maybe expand on it? No, let's keep it the same and actually make it worse. So that's what they've been doing. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with their cap money and everything, but that's the Cowboys. They are known for always saying, "This is our year. This is our year," and it never freaking is. You guys can do whatever you want in the regular season. You can go 16-0 for all I care. You will lose in the first round of the playoffs, or you just won't make it. You just won't make it to the Super Bowl. That's just normally how it goes with the Cowboys. Since the 90s. So it's one of those things that they shoot themselves in the foot. No one's forcing them to suck in the playoffs. No one's forcing them not to be in there. There's no ripoff. There's no refs involved. They just get utterly beaten by themselves. Tony Romo with the Seahawks when he was holding the ball for the PAT and he muffed it, last year. The Green Bay Packers, they were on a roll. And I had picked Green Bay to win that game just because, I knew Dallas, but Green Bay was on a tear. And they made it very apparent that they were a great team. And so definitely going to be more interesting this year because I think that the Eagles are going to kind of be a lot better because they improved with the money that they used. They used Saquon Barkley. They got rid of some people on the defensive, but they've bolstered it a little bit. So it'll be a very interesting division. Supposedly from the best division in the NFL from Micah Parsons. Yeah, right. Maybe listen to CJ Stroud more often. So, but on that note, that is everything in the NFL over the past week or so. If you have any other NFL news, please let me know. I'll talk about it in my next episode, making sure that, I can make sure to always please the fans, even though there's very little right now, but yeah, you got to start somewhere. So very excited to, with each new episode, getting closer and closer to that start of the season. And then we can really dive deep into Ravens games and the NFL, how well they did, everything along those lines. And also with the NFL news, it doesn't always have to be just NFL in general. Like if you want me to talk about another specific team, I have no problem talking about any team you want. If you want me to talk about the Steelers, that's fine. If you're a Browns fan, I would probably abstain because nothing I'm going to say is going to be very positive. If it's not your defense, Nick Chubb or Amari Cooper, like those are only the nice things I'll say. I like your guys' defense. I mean, it's top defense in the league. That's what sucks because you guys win because of your defense because Deshaun Watson's ass. So, yeah. But if you want me to talk about fantasy football, you want me to talk about any specific team, no problem talking about that on the NFL segments if you would like. Just let me know in the comments. I'll make sure to shout you out on that team or on your suggestion. All right, now on to the team that you came here for, the Baltimore Ravens. All right, so obviously we had our first preseason game, which we lost to the Eagles. Not really shocking. We didn't really have any starters playing. We did have a lot of people fighting for jobs and a lot of people that are still working through trying to make the team and what's to be expected. We did have a lot of good players playing. We had center wide receiver combos. A lot of them did really well in PFF ratings, so that was very exciting. And obviously our rookie quarterback was actually one of the top defensive guys for our team that week. I didn't watch too much of the preseason. I'm not much of a preseason guy. I do know that I like to see where certain players are at, especially with their development. Like, are they getting better? To start the season, are they going to start out coming out of the gates firing? I definitely think that you should be able to be playing your starters just for a drive or two, just to kind of get a feel for it. But that's just me on that front. But it was nice to see that Nate Wiggins is doing really well. I'm hoping that our receivers and a couple different guys end up being sneaky picks for our defense, because our defense is the team that's going to really bolster it. And now with adding Derrick Henry in the running game, I really think that our offense will be a little more sound. Yes, I wish we had better wide receivers to complement Flowers. Bateman's got a lot to prove, a lot of big shoes to fill. And if he can do that, I mean, we're going to do well. But our defense is the deciding factor. I mean, that's how our division is. The defense is the best besides the Bengals. They're kind of a reverse thing. They're more the better offense, and they rely more on offense than they do defense. No disrespect on that front. It's just Burrow, Chase, Higgins. You had Mixon, but you have a good couple guys there that they can put up points. So definitely going to be a very exciting season in our division as well. All right, another thing with the Ravens is we signed Russell Gage, which was, it was very nice to have another veteran receiver there, because we have Nelson Aguilar. Tom Brady wanted Russell Gage on his team, so that's obviously got to mean something. So it'll be very nice to have another receiver that's a veteran that can maybe help some rookies or help us, if we get a little injured, because, Bateman's very injury prone, to where, it's nice to have that backup being with Nelson Aguilar, Zay Flowers. Very, very interested to see Walker, our rookie wide receiver. I think that he could be somebody that could be very sneaky. Hopefully he's more of a physical, taller receiver that we can kind of use, because, Zay Flowers is our speedy deep threat, could play a deadly slot. Bateman's kind of the more physical brute, but hasn't really shown it as of late. But we will see come the start of the season. Lastly on our list for the Ravens was just talking about the upside and downside for the season. Obviously, we know most of the downside comes with injuries, but we're going to take out injuries. We're just going to pretend like injuries don't exist. What happens if this team stays healthy and still does bad? Where would the concerns be, and where would the upside be? And so we'll start off with, the bad news first, which is the downside. The downside being that we're not able to effectively run the ball. We do have a lot of new offensive line to where if we're not able to run the ball effectively with Derrick Henry, it's going to cause us to pass the ball more, which in turn puts a lot more pressure on Lamar. Derrick Henry was signed to kind of take the pressure off. We have Mitchell, who will be coming back hopefully at the start of the season, to where he's able to be explosive on the receiving end as a running back, as well as give Derrick Henry a breather. But if we can't run the ball effectively, our pass game is going to be vitally needed, which is something that worries me because it's not our strongest suit. You can't, if they just double team Flowers, you're expecting Bateman to do really well. Nelson Aguilar was a sneaky guy last year that, he kind of went under the radar because you got OBJ and Zay Flowers. But if Bateman does not have a good year as a receiver and we don't have that receiving core that we need, it's going to be very challenging for improve and be able to pass the ball. Derrick Henry was brought to this team because if you run that read option with Lamar and him, or if you run any type of power running, you have Pat Ricard. There's only two great fullbacks in the league, and he's one of them. Running it with him and the blocking, if we can block well, Derrick Henry is going to have a lot more fun than he ever did in Tennessee. The downside is the offense. You got to pick a side. We lost a lot on defense, but we're still young and hungry. We still have a lot of new guys that we're still facing in and seeing how well they do. It's just, staying healthy is the matter. We have a lot of people that are very injury prone on this team. A lot of people that, if they get injured, are very vital to our schemes that we can't afford to lose. We do have a lot of other aspects to the team that help us with a little bit signings here and there that kind of bolster our roster to where if a person gets injured, hopefully they're only out for a couple weeks, but we're able to adjust with the people that we brought in to help us. But the downside really is the offense. If you're not able to run the ball effectively and you rely so much on the pass game, it's not going to work. We do not want to rely on the pass game. That's not a diss on Lamar at all. Lamar passed phenomenally last year, and OBJ was more of a decoy last year anyway. But what I'm saying with that is, if Bateman isn't the right guy and you rely so much on Flowers, it will affect our pass game. I think Nelson Aguilar, I think Russell Gage are very good acquisitions as veterans because they know where they're supposed to be. And if they are able to create a little bit of chemistry with Lamar on what should I do here, what should I do there, we will become more effective. I'm really hoping that our offensive line, with the development of Ben Cleveland and our new right tackle, that we are able to run the ball effectively and be able to push, because Derrick Henry, he's not the fastest back in the world, but if you give him a lane, he's going to take it and he can crush the secondary. If you can get him and take out the linebackers and you put him one-on-one versus a cornerback or a safety, he's going to win. So that's what we're trying to do. That's the effectiveness that we need. So now with the downside out of the way, let's talk upside. Obviously, upside, abstaining from the injuries that normally go into it. Run game is effective, which makes it to where we're able to do a play action, pass the ball, because they're very prone to fixating on the run, because Derrick Henry gets outside. It's not pretty for the tacklers. especially when you have Pat Ricard, who is a great blocker, and he can catch the ball as well. It's not like he's just one trick pony, And I hope for Bateman's sake he is healthy and he's able to do some of the damage he did last year, just better. We're putting a lot of money on the line, a lot of good years of Super Bowl contention on the line, expecting him to be that guy because we signed him to a contract extension. He wasn't too deserving of it with all the said and done, but they could see something that we don't see. And we'll see it this season, whether it was good or not. If not, we're going to have to find another receiver to hopefully get the last 4 to 5 years of Super Bowl contention, because we're going to start running out the clock here with certain players maximizing their contracts, maximizing their playing time, maximizing their age. Derrick Henry maybe has 2 to 4 years, max 4. I would like to give him a Super Bowl, at least going to a Super Bowl, but winning the Super Bowl is the main priority. I think Lamar really needs it just because right now he's like Peyton Manning. He just couldn't get past Tom Brady, and right now he can't get past it. He's still young. He still doesn't have as much experience in the playoffs, but he's going to get there. He played really well last season to where I think that's something that it's going to it feeds him even more because he's proven everyone wrong. When he walked into this league, everyone's like, "Are you just going to be a receiver? You're not playing quarterback, right? Like you're not a quarterback." Well, 2 MVPs later, he is a quarterback. So now it's all about proving the playoff record wrong, proving that you can lead a team to the Super Bowl, which he did. I mean, he played really well in Kansas City. There was a couple different things that, always could have been done better. But, it was the luck of the draw, certain events transpired during that day that, I don't really blame the Ravens for. I mean, everyone kind of knew going in that there was a slight edge towards Kansas City to win it, for the NFL's sake and the Swiftie fans in general. I'm not saying that it was inevitable. They played a decent game, but it kind of felt watching that game that the Ravens didn't really have a chance because they were trying to profit off of the profitability of Taylor Swift, which that's fine. I mean, they made money. It's a business. It sucks that it is a business. I liked it, back in the day when it was just you let the 2 best teams play and you see the best team win and write the narrative off that, not pushing agendas. But I'm not in the business. I don't know what's behind the scenes. Don't know if that was real or not, but pulling back the curtain a little bit, it was a tough ending to last season with how we played, but it has caused us to be more motivated. It's caused us to have our rookies and have a lot of players get that playoff experience that they so much needed, to where now they know how to go into those games. But upside is Super Bowl. Downside is first round exit. If injuries are playing, then maybe not making the playoffs, because our division is going to be a dogfight. So, all right. I think that is it for all the Ravens stuff that I have for this week. Very short and simple on the Ravens items and the NFL items, because just there isn't much to go off of right now. That's just because everyone's kind of getting their team set in motion, getting everything ready so that they're starting and ready for week 1. Once we hit week 1, there's going to be so much information I'm going to have to do, hoping not to have too long of an episode, because, me talking for 45 minutes to y'all, it's a lot of information and it's a lot of stuff to talk about that, I'm hoping that I can fill those 45 minutes with, maybe 8 to 10 different bullet points for the Ravens in the NFL. So hoping that that goes over well for week 1, but we're getting closer to that point. Very excited for the start of the season. We're excited for the potential. I do have a lot of hope for my Ravens team, but still kind of weary because injuries and our division is very scary. So, as the clock winds down on another riveting episode of the Ravens Call, I want to thank all of you for listening. I know, again, don't really have a scheduled place. Trying to figure it out. I think once we start getting into that season, it'll be more consistently on a specific day, just because right now I kind of wait till there's enough information or good juicy stuff to talk about to kind of give you guys an episode so that you can kind of learn what's going on in the world, be more informed on NFL, but also Ravens news. But if there's something that I may have missed during the week or from past weeks, and you're like, hey, I'd like to learn more about this, or what is your opinion on this? Please feel free to comment or ask a question about it on any of the platforms, and I'll make sure to address it in the next episode or in comments. I mean, it definitely depends on what you're asking, but if it's something that I can go in depth with, I will definitely bring it up in the next podcast, and I will shout you out as well, so that you know that I'm out there listening, out there understanding and reading your comments and taking in your suggestions. Also, all the music and sound is provided by my brother-in-law, Justin. So again, thank you, Justin, for that. Well, Ravens Nation, thank you for joining me on this episode of the Ravens Call. Getting closer to that start of that season. Hopefully, can get a couple more episodes out before we hit that week 1. But once we hit that week 1, we're going to start rolling. So until next time, stay fierce, stay loyal, and keep rooting for that purple and black. I will see you next time on the Ravens Call.